Welcome to Memorable Marketing by MediaGroup. Today on the podcast, we have a very special guest. His name is Christian Johansen, and he works for UR currently, which is a leading manufacturer of robotic automation arms, cobots. Very excited for his conversation.
Disrupting a traditional businesses or an old school businesses is always fun. The word is just frictionless journey towards the purchase or whatever it is that you want to transact to is the key. So marketing is really an important player, and I think now it's easier than ever to measure it.
Christian, welcome to Memorable Marketing. It's great to have you with us on the podcast.
Thank you, Bart. Great to be here.
So Christian, you're a client, but from my understanding, you have an interesting background in marketing in general, and we'd very much like to hear your thoughts on these subjects. So let's dive right into it, and perhaps you can tell the audience a little bit about your background personally and work-wise.
Well, I am the lucky father of two, and they don't see me that often because I tend to spend a lot of time on what I really like doing, and one of them, of course, being what I do here, doing digital marketing. And I've been doing that for the past 16 years in two different settings. One being a traditional garden furniture company that I was part of taking online to actually do e-commerce. I was, joining that, or I was part of that in the beginning of their journey before I made the switch to UR. So basically been doing digital marketing activities for the past 15 or 16 years.
And, from the sound of it, that is taking sort of offline focused company and transforming them to, as far as marketing goes, at least to the digital age.
Yeah, opening up e-commerce as a channel to support the more traditional way of at that time selling high-end furniture, traditionally being sold via a shop and through retailers. So helping to open that channel and to do all the activities surrounding on how to drive e-commerce. But again. Baby steps at the time, and when I look at where they've taken it now, it's a different place. It's become really successful for a lot of reasons. Of course, COVID didn't remove the foot from the speeder in this sector either. So it's been really interesting to follow. Something that you helped initiate way back, and now it's a very impressive engine that's just 100 miles an hour, right?
So your baby is all grown up and like a proud father.
Yeah.
Okay. So speaking of that company, the furniture company, maybe walk us through what you did there. What was the situation as you found it, and what were the major sort of strategic marketing initiatives that you undertook to get it to where it is now?
Well, again, I think a lot of what happened back then was learning by doing. I don't have a specific fancy degree in marketing. I have a 2-year education, no bachelor. I don't have anything to brag about. So it's all learning by doing. And that place really helped cement what the different disciplines do, right? To actually really help you get your fingers dirty in user experience, in how do you optimize things, how do you communicate to these potential customers, and how do you do good service, right? So not just getting people in the door, but also making sure that they actually purchase what it is that they set out to do. So. Let's say a delicate mix between classic digital marketing tactics, and then a lot of talking as well. If you need to be part of every single thing, right? You can't just say that now I do paid search and I do keyword analysis and I get traffic to a page. If we actually get a hook in people, then it's not enough to just send them emails. You need to be really, really customer centric and help the customers in the journey, right? So handheld, if you will, at that time, but super interesting and a lot of learnings that I've been able to leverage from where I am now.
So when you first started, the sales were mostly done to distributors or to retail directly.
Yeah, I think that's the model, and it's still a super important part. But just understanding the fact that consumers have various ways of purchasing, and being present and enabling people to act on what they see, their intent, just enabling that I believe is super important for business like that. Somebody needs to go and touch things and get things on discount, and some just want to buy from the source. It's similar to Apple, right? You can go and buy an iPhone for 20% less if you go to a retail shop, but you don't get the same experience if you actually purchase it from the company.
Right. And so you have a chance to sort of shape not only the initial impression that customers have of your brand, but also very importantly, the journey and all of the touch points. Because I would imagine, in retail, a large part of the experience that people have is to do with the quality of the retail establishment itself, of the salesperson, of everything like this. Whereas, kind of direct to consumer, you control all of that.
Yeah, and again, a super important part, especially in I guess luxury goods, is that you are able to offer a somewhat white glove service as well, right? So people feel that they buy a premium product and they get premium service. And at the time, and again, I'm not gonna take any credit for where they are now, because I haven't been part of the operation for a long time. But I still visit them once in a while, and I still have their furniture. So really good product, right? But part of it was to say, we need to get the best out of the technology that we have, and also the talent that we have to work with, and that one of the paths was to actually do this white glove service, and to be the one answering the chat, be the one on the phone, so not only concentrating on getting people in the door, but focusing on keeping them there, right? And then gradually working on let's say tools to automate things, right? But it's never the same.
Yeah, it's like humans combined with robots, as opposed to just letting robots do the contact. I imagine at some point you have mapped out the customer journey. What are the touch points, but also sort of measured. I would imagine that there is a difference between the customer lifetime value of someone that buys in a store and someone that does direct business with a brand, when you're able to offer that white glove service. Have you seen a difference in the numbers from that perspective?
Again, I think we were in the early stages to be thinking about loyalty clubs and retention, and it was a little bit Wild West at the time. It was about selling some stuff, of course, giving that good service so we could get the consumer to actually buy a premium product at a premium price, and the challenge with that is that the furniture that we pushed at the time was so durable that you didn't have to replace it, and a lot of people, they have limited space, even though they have the money to actually buy this stuff. So it's like working against the model that we want to sell more and more and more because people want to upgrade. I'm sure that they've taken that step, but again, this was more on this is what we spend on let's say acquisition cost, on getting traffic. This is what we see from a conversion point, and let's try to optimize that. It was also a little bit of I'd say a challenge when you open up a direct channel with your let's say traditional channel on the side. So that was also a little bit of a concern for the traditional way of selling furniture, again through retailers, and I believe that now they actually see the benefit of having that, because the company is able to brand and to basically take the consumers into a universe where they can guarantee this high level of it's a sophisticated way of presenting premium products, right? And they can control that experience. And that brand part in any company is extremely important.
Are you familiar with the company Miele?
Yeah.
They manufacture washing machines, kitchen appliances, things of that nature. A lot of their washing machines tend to last 30 or 40 years. And in a market, in an industry where planned obsolescence is the sort of modus operandi, they ran into a problem where that if they get a customer, then most likely they're not going to see that customer again for 30, 40 years. Obviously, that becomes a major problem when you cannot get more penetration. So the customers that had that Miele washing machine for 30, 40 years are going to talk to their children, to their family, to their neighbors and stuff like this. They might end up buying those products, but you're not going to see loyalty in that way, particularly from that initial customer.
That's the same thing, because of course, if you have, again, durability in Denmark, where I stand right now, it's raining and there's sun in the, it's a mix of conditions that deteriorate everything that's outside if you don't take care of it. And of course, if people can share that I don't do anything, I just leave it outside and then it looks brand new, that's the best selling point that you can have, because then they won't argue in when they go and see the prices like, oh, that's expensive. Yeah, but if you think about it lasting for 20 years or 30 years, it's worthwhile. It's an investment.
And I suppose also to some extent a status symbol.
Yeah, you could. Yeah. Sure. Again, if you buy a premium product, it's a somewhat of a status symbol. But I'd argue that I have it in my own garden, and I'm not a millionaire, but I don't consider it as a status symbol. I consider it as a smart investment, because I don't have to go out and replace it. Right. So.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. You've spent a lot of time actually just opening up those channels and trying to optimize, turn the different dials, trying to get from 0 to X percentage in direct to consumer sales. What did you think was the most impactful change that you've made?
You're asking me to remember something that's a long time ago, but I think in particular the channel that worked at that time, 7 or 8 years ago, was Google, and the intent of purchasing something was where we actually saw the best return on investment at the time. I think we were on the brink of opening up more on SEO activities and building more of a community around interior or exterior, if you will. But I didn't really made it to actually touch upon that endeavor. But again, we were very focused on trying to make the best out of that little machine that we invented in the beginning, and we opened up this shop in I think it was 9-10 markets, and it's expanded since, and I think they have warehouses in different parts of the world, so they can actually do quick deliveries, and they have customer service centers, and it's a whole different operation, right? But just having been part of that beginning, I can look back on that and it was a good experience. Good to be part of a startup mentality in that area. Again, disrupting a traditional business or an old school business is always fun.
So was it, in terms of culture, very old school? Did you encounter a lot of resistance?
I think in the beginning, yes, but at the end of the day, you need to believe that opening up a channel, additional channel or a direct channel in that specific part isn't necessarily the traditional way of selling things, or the ones that are doing that are making money on being the middleman. That's not necessarily a bad thing, because that helps get the brand out, helps build better experiences, because the companies now need to have a nice website. They need to have good customer service. They focus on putting the customer at the center. And if the customer chooses to go white glove and pay premium price directly at the vendor, then that's it. And that's fine. They can also choose to say, wow, this is amazing. I need to get a discount because I just need a discount. Then you go somewhere else. But your journey starts at the place where you can sell the dream, right? And if you don't have, the incentive when you build, an extra channel where the company selling the furniture can also see a business model in it, they will of course invest more in that experience, right? So benefits for both parties.
Sure. And I suppose this giving people a choice about how they transact or do business with a company is sort of the underlying thought there. To put it in different words, you make it easy for people to do business with you, and that implies that you offer the all of the different paths that they might want to take in order to become a customer.
I think the word is just a frictionless journey towards the purchase or whatever it is that you want to transact to is the key, right? And we don't know how people prefer. We can of course, see in data. But if we have this omni-channel approach to things, where you can buy through there or there or there, it doesn't matter. But we're here when you're ready to do your transaction.
I think it's a good philosophy to marketing in general. Removing friction generally is the way to improve all of the metrics.
Yes.
All right. So now you got to Universal Robots at some point. How did you get there, and what was that like?
It was very interesting. Universal Robots had just been sold to an American company. We're owned by a company called Teradyne in the US. And it had just been purchased for, $250 million, rather large sum of money at the time. And it went from being a startup, right? It was founded in 2005, sold its first product, a robot, in 2008, and then was acquired by an American company in 2015. That's quite a journey from zero to a lot in no time. So entering into this place, I started 5 months after, and this startup mentality was still around, and that drive that entails was and is still to some degree still here, and marketing was one of the areas that they now wanted to focus on. So I entered into Universal Robots with my boss, and she was responsible for offline, and I was then responsible for online. 2 people, and go do. We sell in 9 different regions in God knows how many countries at that time. Figure out what to do. That was basically the first thing that happened, and I was responsible for the website. I was responsible for our social media channels, and a little bit of our acquisition. We did some Google AdWords at the time, but it was very limited and early days, right?
You were a one-man band
At that time, yes.
I suppose that's kind of similar to what you were experiencing at Caneline.
Yes, again, of course, you enter into something that's a little bit more established. Actually, no, I'd actually like to withdraw that. It wasn't into something where I actually had to look at things again and start over again, going from having direct sales, if you will. You can actually sell something. Universal Robots sells through a distribution, so it's a different game now. It was about lead generation and not about selling furniture directly to people. But I had to kind of start from scratch and redesigning the model because there were no model.
And I suppose applying a sort of B2C working methods to B2B is how you got started.
Yeah, again, a lot of learning by doing, interacting with actually a lot of third-party vendors, listening to a lot of experience. Again, coming from B2C and going into B2B at that time was different. I think it's first around Corona or in 2019 that this notion about, it's the same people, we need to make similar journeys. We don't need to differentiate much. But at that time, it was a little bit more old school, right? We went out to big exhibitions, doing offline things and cold calling customers or potential customers, and it was a whole different ball game. Trying to fit into this old school industry of robotics and digital marketing wasn't really it wasn't a thing. It was just a hygiene factor. You need to have a website, and that needs to be kind of a good experience, but it doesn't really matter if the page takes, I don't know, 2 minutes to load. Our customers, they buy through their partners, and they find out who we are when they go to exhibitions. That was just the conditions.
And the journey that we often see of B2B companies is, marketing functions starting off as sort of sales support, making a brochure for events, having that website. Why do we need a website? But anyway, let's do it. To then, over time, becoming a force in its own right and a sales channel in its own right.
Yes, exactly, and that's it's putting everything to it makes super good sense. I remember the one of the founders, my third day, and he walked past me and my former boss there, and he says, "Oh, this is the department of hot air, right?" It's like, yeah, sure, colors and stripes and balloons, right, and brochures. But I actually recently had a chat with him, and luckily now he sees it different, right? He actually sees marketing as in general as a solid contributor to revenue growth and to the bottom line as well.
Do you feel like you had a hand in changing the culture in this company from traditional sales, offline sales, things like this, to what we just described, to seeing marketing as an important sales driver in its own right?
I think I had an impact in trying to drag in that direction, to say we need to try this. We need to be curious about what it is that we do, and we need to challenge the traditional ways of doing business, because otherwise we're not going to see double-digit growth or more, because it has a limit, right? It takes, I don't know, 10 people and a lot of resources to build up an exhibition stand somewhere, and it's just not scalable if you need to 10x it. We need to build other ways of driving awareness and basically also driving good leads and sales at the end. So yes, I do believe that I've been holding the flag high and saying, yes, we need to do this. But again, it's a transition. It takes a long time, even though we have a startup mentality, and we look for what is working, and we need to, even though that we've been allowed to do a lot of stuff, on a test thing, and I think we also stretch the boundaries of when to close things down, because this got to work, right? There's something in it. We can't see it in the numbers, but we have a gut feeling, right? And that gut feeling has then been proved in real data, right? So again, we've had the wiggle room to experiment, and that's basically where the reason why we're where we are now in our digital journey as a company.
Yeah, so very often, it's baby steps, and it's dragging the organization, kicking and screaming to an end goal, and it's incremental. Whereas, perhaps if you submit for an award, or if you look back on your time, or you make a nice review presentation, you can apply a story to this, to say, this was all intentional. We went from point A to point D, and these are the steps in between. I suppose it doesn't really work like that in reality. But for anyone that is sort of in your shoes right now in 2023, or starting off at an organization that needs to still go through that, like, how would you suggest that they approach this dragging, kicking, and streaming process?
Again, I think in the current state of the world right now, and the current conditions with our ability to experiment with stuff, you need to have a more sound plan, and they need to have better data to back it up to prove that this is actually something that's working. I don't believe it's as hard to prove your point as it perhaps was before, because money goes in one place, and you should be able to see at least an impact in some parts of the funnel. But you can't, we have a goal here at UR to have a certain percentage of our total revenue being from marketing, right? So having an origin in marketing, but you can't really. I don't think that you can say that. I think everything is touched by marketing in some way, right? And that's that feeling that you have, that scent, because what happens to the rest of that percentage? You can't say that they haven't seen an advertising piece, or they haven't seen us at an offline event, or whatever it is. So you can't really say that anymore. So marketing is really an important player, and I think now it's easier than ever to measure it.
What you said in terms of money in, money out, at the end of the day, a lot of organizations over complicate how they measure things, because at the end of the day, you know what you're investing, you know what you're getting, and like whatever happens in between, that is for operational purposes. But just from a business strategical point of view, that is the most important consideration. I very much like something that Gary Vaynerchuk once said, although I'm not a fan of the man, but he said, like, what is the ROI of your mother? It's not like, at age 3, she gave me some extra milk. At age 7, she told me that, the bullies in school, you should just ignore them. Then at age 12, they arranged my university. And this is how today I'm in this job. Like, you cannot unpick it like that. It has to be sort of, you've done all these things. You have a good mother, in this case, a good marketing, and you end up with the sausage that exists today.
But that's a nice way of explaining it. But that is hard when you stand at the top and saying, I need $10,000 for this. I was like, well, what do I get out of it? Well, in 18 months, I will tell you.
So this is where we get the hot air stuff from, Christian.
Yeah, but I think we work a little bit different now. We track stuff a lot better than we did in the beginning, and we're focusing a lot on actually proving that we contribute and that we make a difference in everything that happens at UR in particular, right? And that marketing has a touch point in every customer journey. And that's also why that I'm here today. And I started out with a one-man band, and now we have 10 people working in digital marketing and working constantly on optimizing what we've built and making it better.
Right. Yeah, turning the different knobs and trying to make it better. But if we were to sort of apply a story, could you, in so many words, describe how you would say the digital marketing approach of UR works? What is your philosophy?
The philosophy is to basically make it customer centric, right? So all the messaging evolves around the customer and what they're facing, right? What are their pain points? And that's the way that we try to capture their attention, to be relevant for what they're struggling with, right? So our approach in general is to do exactly that. So try to capture them, try to get a hook into people with some value that they can when they close down the ebook or they close down the website that they've spent time on looking at, they should go away with a feeling of saying I've learned something, or I'm inspired, or I want to pursue this even further. And then trying to hold their hand, just like in the garden furniture business, right? When you actually get somebody to say, I'm interested in that $6,000 sofa. Well, I'll call you, my friend, and tell you all about it, and answer all your questions, and really give you the best service possible. we're trying to do that at a scale with all the tools that we have at UR as well, to try to handhold, to try to inform or inspire people to learn about all the obstacles that can be in their forward journey towards purchasing our technology. And I think that's the way we've built this model to scale, right? Classic 3-step funnel. Build awareness, talk about why technology can make a difference in their situation, and then of course sell the company. And then everything is sprinkled on, with the brand and the identity that we have in the market.
Do you want to bring across? Yeah, and I suppose that is very different from what you did at Caneline, because here you're not just harvesting demand, because it's kind of a new industry, a new product. People need to first be educated. Here you are creating demand, and you're sort of focusing more on top of funnel.
So this thing about getting this out broad is extremely important to our growth. There's been a shift, right? Because in the beginning it was all about volume, and we're finding that you can't really give a white glove service to a huge volume. So switching from let's say quantity to quality, we've been doing in the past 2 or 3 years, and really focusing on tailoring our messaging to the right people. And again, creating demand, but also assisting, people in onwards in their journey towards, purchasing technology. We have this 3-step funnel that's you can break it down from a messaging perspective to say why automate, and why our technology, and then of course why should you then choose us, right, to build that trust. So that's been the approach, and we can again refine how much we put in, and by tailored messaging and by limiting the amount of people that we do outreach to, and that seems to work. Again, we can look at it from a qualitative perspective when we look at conversion rates going into our funnel. Sales happy, our marketing, contributing with what they're supposed to contribute with, etc., etc. So we're measuring everything throughout the funnel all the way to purchase.
Right, and then when, for instance, the number of conversions is too low, but there is enough awareness in the market, you dial up one end and so on, and you try to play with that funnel. One of the sort of sayings in the marketing world is like, if you are a market leader, if you invented the space, or if you are the biggest one in it, you promote the category rather than the brand. You try to talk about, in this case, cobots. As a category, rather than saying buy UR cobots right now. Does that apply to this situation as well?
It does. It's super important that we own the category, because we are again a market leader. We didn't invent the concept, right? But we were one of the first ones to commercialize it. So it's important that we have that position, number one position on any aspect that we can be in, to tell people. Actually give them that first impression of what this technology can do, and to try to take ownership of that specific part of the customer journey. So again, if you look at it from this 3-stage model, if you're already aware that you have a problem, I can't find any labor to do my dumb, dull, and dirty jobs in my factory floor. All right, well then I invest in or research in technology. But it could also be that you don't need to have that awareness, but you dive directly into the technology level, and then we need to actually own that space. And we do our utmost to do that. There's a lot of competition out there. There's a lot of let's say companies, both traditional companies, but also startups that have seen this. It's market opportunity. Let's say it that way. And that's not necessarily something bad. because they can actually help drive the awareness around the category. And then it's of course just important to have, let's say, your whole business model and your whole, perception of your brand, that it just makes that even more important, right? So if there's 50 companies talking about the same technology with similar features, etc., you need to stand out on different parameters, and that's also what separates a startup from where we are now as a company as well, right?
Yeah, because size or just perceived knowledge, because you are one of the first, creates trust, and trust is what drives business, especially for high end purchases like cobots. You mentioned that you see it in the three classic stages of awareness, preference, conversion. I suppose, or I know that you're doing campaigns specifically for each stage. Are there any campaigns that you've done that stand out, either by way of performance or just in terms of how different it was or the learnings that it provided?
I think what we've done in the past year is to switch our, let's say, our focus to again, best practice, but having an always on approach to things. So we don't do it on campaign level where we turn on and turn off things, but we have a constant optimization process within a full year, or there are no end dates, right? So I think that new approach to say that we have a constant that we optimize on, and where we actually leverage a lot of the learnings that the platforms are giving us back from an acquisition perspective. So instead of having a capped 14-day campaign, we actually give it 365 days a year to optimize itself. And I think that's what we're seeing right now is starting to pay off. It's a little bit of a slow trajectory because it takes time.
Baby step.
Exactly, and it's a little anxiety from my side, sitting and watching, hoping that numbers will improve over time, and luckily they are, because again, it's the right tactical thing to do and the right strategical thing to do. I think we've done it all. We've tried everything and we failed in everything. So we have a lot of experience in what works and what doesn't work. But this new approach that we've taken here is to actually have a constant, and that is making a difference.
You mentioned in the beginning that there was a lot of focus on offline, on conferences, on direct sales, and so on. I suppose at some point, digital marketing was done almost entirely as on a separate track from those activities that I just mentioned. And at a certain stage, I assume you have started to integrate the two more.
Yes.
Talk about how both work together, perhaps.
Well, today, we've learned from Corona that offline is still immensely important. People still need to meet people, and potential customers, in some cases, still need to touch the product that they want to purchase and to see people in the eyes, right? So offline is an extremely important part in B2B selling in the industrial automation space. And the way that it works together now is that we're focused on creating a database in our digital activities, right? That's the main focus. Let's create a database and audiences that we can use to drive further down the funnel and to drive towards conversion. But what we're complementing with here is that instead of just giving them ebooks and inviting them to webinars, we use lead scoring, and we build different lists from our database to actually invite them to tailored offline events, right? So instead of always just going for the big industry events where you're one relatively big fish in a really big sea, and then hoping for the best, then we really try to leverage and get the most out of our feet on the ground, if you will. So the way that we're basically trying to get the best out of both worlds is to use offline to speed up the process, to accelerate the pipeline, if you will, and to really help with the enablement of getting people closer to the purchase. And that's the way it's used now. And again, very important to say as well that we have a common identity across both online activities and offline activities. So it's the same brand, it's the same feeling, it's the same thing that we're saying online, and it's the same thing that you will be met with our salespeople and our booth staff. It's that's also super important. Again, omni-channel, if you will, we have two, and of course we have a lot of partners that are the ones doing the actual transaction with the end users, right? We have a relatively complex setup, but taking it from a company level and trying to give our partners the same identity and the same look and feel to build more trust. That's what we're working on now and in the future.
So I can imagine that there are a lot of potential issues with distributors, brand risks, things around what messages they use, how they portray your brand. Is there anything that you can say about a sort of co-op program or cooperation with those distributors that has worked well for you or that you're planning to do?
I think it's just a matter of sitting down together and agreeing that following common rules and guidelines is what will help both us and of course we want our partners to be successful, because if they're successful, we're successful. It's important to find partners that are willing to follow the same path and that can see the benefits of having marketing that are alike, and of course the same messaging, because that's what resonates and builds trust with the end user.
Right, consistency, and it's good that that you're able to sit down with them and discuss that on a trust level rather than having to resort to other tactics that perhaps businesses that have perhaps a lot higher quantity of partners might have to. Speaking about like other businesses, I'd like to switch the conversation a little bit and ask you if there are any businesses or brands that you really admire from a marketing point of view.
Yeah, I looked at it today, and I was a little. I had a little time to actually think, and I only came up with two very, very boring companies that I guess everybody on this podcast has said, and it is Apple and it's Tesla, and Apple because of the brand identity that they continue to drive, and that customer-centric focus they have, and Tesla for an insane user experience, right? It's making things so much easier and so frictionless for people to actually purchase their products. So I think that's a boring answer, but they are the ones that is an inspiration, a source of inspiration.
It's not boring, but it is interesting that you mentioned Tesla, because there are two camps about this, but from my perspective, they don't do marketing.
They have this insane CEO. That's enough marketing for them, right? But it's not because of their marketing abilities. It was actually to be inspired by a company that has been able to remove so much friction from something that's actually relatively easy if you look at it, but nobody has been able to crack that code before.
They're sort of the Apple of the automotive industry. Is there anything that you can, in broad lines, learn from those two companies that you could apply better at UR?
Yes. I think what I can learn and what I can apply is the fact that you can look at these two brands and say this works, If you want to be a premium brand in this space, look at these two companies and say, the brand and being consistent with what you say as from an Apple perspective is what is driving this. It's not the cheapest product, right? You can go out and find a complementary product that will perhaps last less time, or be it's faster and it's cheaper, whatever. But you buy into a brand, you buy into that identity, and I actually believe that Universal Robots can be the same. I think that we can be the Apple of industrial automation in general, or this space that we're in right now. And looking at them is just the proof. Sure, it's possible if you're consistent, and of course, if you're extremely knowledgeable about what you do, then it can happen.
So on the advertising marketing side, but perhaps also on the product design side, yeah, I think your products are pretty. I suppose everything works together.
Exactly. Again, frictionless. You go in. There are not many obstacles on your way to purchasing something that's actually relatively complex, because to implement automation in general is not just clicking a button. It is more. There are more friction, but the more friction that we can remove from the person, purchasing and have that in the background, the better.
I suppose it's about asking why not make it a one-click process. Why can't we do that? And then thinking backwards to how to, change the process to remove more and more friction.
Yep, I totally agree. Again, there are many challenges to this, both technological, but also, let's say, the markets that we're serving. They're actually immensely complex, right? And there are no solution that are 100% alike. So it's a lot harder than selling a standardized one product that has fit to all. But again, we dare to dream. Otherwise, it's not fun to be here, right? So
that's right. Talking about daring to dream. You've been in marketing and in this job and previous ones for a while. Perhaps you would have some advice for someone just starting out and dreaming about what could exist.
Let's say my own journey from a one-man band to 10 specialists that are doing all sorts of fantastic things on a day-to-day basis is basically to gain the knowledge of every discipline, right? To be a generalist, and then you go T-shape afterwards, right? You know a little about a lot of things, and then you actually specialize. But take the time to investigate, all the different corners of the discipline that you engage in, and when things then start to grow, you either specialize and become a subject matter expert on a specific thing, and again, when the ability or the possibility of actually expanding, perhaps, and you get a possibility to perhaps get people in, I'd advise to hire people that are smarter than yourself, and grow them, right? Because that's what's going to take the company that you're in and the department that you sit in to the next level.
Right, and let them grow you as well, I suppose. Learning something from everyone.
Learning something from everyone, and also know that being a manager is far from getting your hands dirty. It's far from micro optimizing conversion rates on a landing page and writing copy for AdWords. It's about people, right? So let's say segued away from being that generalist with a T-shape in let's say digital acquisition in particular, to become more of a person that tries to develop people, right, and tries to do everything we do is for the team, right? So it's a team effort, and without the team, you're nothing.
I would be probably more pessimistic and say that every problem is a people problem. I wish you many staff is an old proverb, I suppose. They meant it in a negative way. On that very positive note, Christian, I'd like to thank you for joining us on the podcast. I very much enjoyed our conversation. Come back again soon.
Will do. Just send the invite.
At the end of our podcast, we usually have a conversation with our producer. In this case, Valerie. Hi, Valerie.
Hi, Bart.
And we talk a bit what was interesting, good, not so good in the conversation. Did you have any thoughts?
Yeah, so I admire that Christian is a fan of opening new channels within companies. He's also well aware that the strength of digital marketing is cross-channel, which is why, for example, Universal Robots uses a variety of marketing platforms, both local and global. I also really like that Universal Robots is the rare type of B2B company that actively embraces B2C marketing efforts, like, for example, TikTok advertising. And of course, Christian has contributed a lot to that. He's curious about new things and proposing testing them to take the digital marketing to a new level. And what is interesting, they're also not afraid to fail as they gain valuable experience for future campaigns.
Yeah, I suppose if you're always doing what's safe, you end up with very boring, same old, same old. And this gets B2B companies especially very much stuck in that offline events, running some print ads and making a nice sales presentation mode for as far as marketing goes. So it's good that Christian brought a different type of approach to this company, and I have a feeling a different culture as well.
Yeah, what's also cool is that they adopt a really customer-centric approach and they really want to educate their audience about their products and industry and show a really solid commitment to this, for example, by running webinars or doing some dedicated events.
Yeah, I think they understand that in order to get people's attention, you need to earn that attention by being helpful, by providing value. That's more or less what we're doing with this podcast as well. We're trying to be helpful, trying to share information with people, get their attention, and then the exchange for that, for offering value, is that they become aware of our company. They might have certain ideas about our company that are hopefully positive, and then when the right time is there, they might want to work with us.
Yeah.
Good marketing strategy then. Thanks, Val.
Thanks.
And until next time.
Until the next time.
That was Memorable Marketing by MediaGroup with our special guest, Christian Johansen. If you like this episode, be sure to subscribe either on YouTube or using your favorite podcast app. Until next time, and thank you for listening.